What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're checking out the SPK Unlimited Gen 2 Shark in Elmax. This one's on loan to me from my buddy Lele, so first and foremost, huge shout out to him for sending this one over. I'll make sure to link to his Instagram in the description of this video. Great guy, great taste in knives, so if you're on Instagram and like seeing dope knives and gear, definitely give him a follow. But thank you again for sending this one over. Now, as soon as I got this one in hand, I was immediately more jealous that I missed out on this drop. First, because it's no secret that I like small fixed blades I can just drop in my pocket, and this one's right in the sweet spot at 7 inches overall. But second, and maybe even more importantly, is this may be one of the best values out there for an American-made fixed blade at $125. Now, for that, you're getting a 7-inch fixed blade, Elmax on the steel, heat treated to 62 HRC, and of course American-made. Now, this is machined. It's not going to be custom hand ground and hand finished, all of that, and the price does reflect that, but it is designed and machined here in America, and all of the materials like the Elmax and that Micarta are being sourced in America, all the way down to the hardware is even made in America. So really hard to beat at that $125 price point. Not only that, but really great design as well. It kind of falls into the theme that we've been seeing a lot on the channel, which simple designs are often the most elegant. This one is definitely there, both in terms of looks and overall usability of this knife. On the surface, it seems just like a sleek, simple design, but definitely seems to be very well thought out, and I think it looks great in my opinion. Now, 7 inches overall, really like the distribution of that, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but 2.75 inches on the cutting edge, and that may be a little bit short for some people, especially for a fixed blade. For me, it's perfect. 99% of the time, I don't need more than that, and if you know you're going to be needing more than that, you're out camping, get a knife that's made for that. But I think 99% of the time, 2.75 inches is going to get the job done. Great blade shape on there, ton of belly, and just really razor sharp out of the box, super thin behind the edge. In fact, that blade stock is only about 0.10 inches. That tapers down with this machined flat grind that hopefully is coming across, because I think it's just milling lines from the machining of that flat grind, but really adds to the overall aesthetic. Looks great with that micro milling on the blade as well. But because of that shorter blade length, we're able to get more handle. So from ricasso to the end of our knife, we're looking at 4 inches, which means I can wrap all 4 fingers around here, no problem. They're spread out. I'm not super cramped on there. Easily able to wrap around that handle. We have a lanyard back here, which in some cases with these small fixed blades are a big part of your grip. In this case, I'm not touching it at all. So the lanyard's great if you want to use it to pull out the sheath or just keep track of your knife, but don't need it for the ergos on this one. Speaking of the Micarta scales on here, nice and thick, just a hair under 0.6 inches thick, and so really fills out your hand. The ergos on here are great. No jimping on the spine, you really don't need it because of the shape of that handle. Between the ricasso and the end of the knife, you're really locked in, not going to be sliding forward or backwards. You want to move to that utility grip, definitely passes the finger test, can get right behind that tip as well with ease because of the shorter blade length. And so really great ergos on this one. One thing I really like about the handle, which I'm sure was an intentional choice, this drop point style blade has tons of belly, and the handle really dips back to make sure that your hands sit behind that, your knuckles are sitting behind that belly. So even if you're cutting on a flat surface, you have plenty of room to make those cuts without your knuckles beating up on that surface. So just a really well designed, thought out handle on there. Great ricasso on here, as mentioned earlier. Really great sharpening twill as well. And again, super slicey. Even though this one's on loan, I did have permission to use it just like I'd use any other knife and cut with it. Now, I did do that, but I try to keep it a little bit lighter. I'm not going to go hard on these or beat them up. I want to send it back in the same condition I'm getting in, but did have an opportunity to cut with this. Had a really, really great edge right out of the package. And so really nicely done. You can see these micarta handles aren't super fuzzy, but they're also not super polished. They're still pretty grippy. Nice shape and contouring to those. No shadowing with the tang of the knife. They are flush with the tang of the knife. Also love how this lanyard is mounted. So this does come pre-tied, but as you can see, there's no hole on the side of the scales for that lanyard. It's going into these cutouts in the scales, and then there's a hole in the tang to mount that in. Now, that does mean you have to remove the scales if you want to add your own lanyard here, but it does come with one, and the orange is a nice touch against that, again, natural micarta that may get lost in the dirt. You have this high-vis orange. Now, obviously, if you don't want that, you can just clip it off. You don't have to remove the scales. You can clip it and pull it. But if you want to replace it with something else, you are going to have to remove those scales, but really easy to do with just those 2 screws. overall, I think this is a really great design. As I've already mentioned, I think one of the best values out there for an American-made fixed blade. I hope I'm able to get my hands on one of these soon enough. Now, in terms of flaws, obviously I've had nothing but good things to say. It was pretty hard to find one for this knife. I always like to try and point those out, anything that I think may be an issue. Obviously, that blade length, maybe for some people, for me, I think that's perfect. But the only flaw I might mention is that these do not ship with a sheath, or at least this run didn't. He said they may in the future for $10 more, and it was an intentional choice. I'm sure part of that was just keeping the price down as low as possible, but the other part of it was he knows that a lot of people, if he ships this with a Kydex sheath, are going to go out and get a custom sheath made for it, maybe something in leather, or really just depending on what people's preferences are, some sort of custom sheath for it, and end up just tossing that Kydex sheath to the side. And so he figured if that's the case anyway, work with these great creators in the community who are making custom slips for knives, and that's exactly what my buddy did. Actually, he has one on order. Now, the only downside to that, I mentioned that being a flaw, is that those are custom made to order, 7 weeks lead time, and so can't really carry and use this until you come up with a solution. And the solution may be that you make a quick Kydex sheath for it and then eventually order something, but out of the box you really can't end up carrying this one until you figure out that solution. But other than that, there's really nothing I can point to in terms of a flaw. I'm super impressed with this one. Definitely would love to check one out. Hopefully he'll do another run of them soon. I actually love the color of this natural micarta, but definitely wouldn't say no to a black micarta handled version. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, joining the channel as a member. All help the channel out a ton, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.